Yeah.
So here we are. I'm here with Justine Arian-Edwards, and I love to call you my OG life coach because you were my first official life coach, but still, I feel like I think of you as one of my life coaches. So thank you for that and all that you've been, and now a good friend of mine. So I so appreciate it. And you and I've had at least a few of these conversations this year about like how can we this almost kind of this similar theme, but I just wanted to come back around to get to talk to you how you're feeling and what you feel like you want to share at this point as a leader and a speaker and a teacher and an author and a mom and a wife and a community member and all the above. So
I'm a
so
person. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to say that I really love something that I admire so much about you, Laura Jane, is like you're so connected. You're a living example of what it's like to be connected and tuned in. And like whatever your heart feels needs to be created in the moment. Like you go after that and you create it. And I love that so much because we need more of that in this world where people are acting on where their heart is leading them to go. And I feel like everything you do is so heart centered. And so I really appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you. And I got to say, I'm absolutely certain that the reason I have the courage to do that is because of having someone like you on my team over these years, and a coach and a friend in my life. So yeah,
Yeah.
because that's really what you share so much. I love that you've got such this practicality and groundedness to what I feel like you share, and such a power when you speak and share your perspectives. And you've got this real heart centeredness and even spirituality to how you encourage others and even approach your life. So I don't know, how does that strike you as a description of you?
I love it. I love it. It's so interesting to hear that too, because, I think I've shared this with you previously, but I grew up in a family that was not spiritual at all. Religion is taboo. And so, there's atheism, there's agnostic, going on in my upbringing. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've connected more to the spiritual part of myself and life. And I do feel like there is this theme that's interwoven in everything that I do that has a spiritual component to it. I feel like it's this deeper connection to something greater than ourselves. And, whatever people want to call that, God, universe, source, whatever the name is for that, I definitely feel like that's super present. And I think that's pretty common for people as we get older in life too, because there's more of that wisdom
Ah,
that not only comes from having lived a well life, but also from like something that we know we're connected to that's greater than us, right?
yeah,
So
but I think that's probably part of why the way you have shared and even encouraged people who you're working with to follow their soul or their heart is because you are bringing it forth in such a grounded way that isn't dogmatic, and that you really have this allowing and expression that can be very universal, right? That it's not so extreme or even like, yeah, that you really allow this, you encourage us all to, I think, have this our own sense of spirituality. So
yeah.
I guess I find myself doing that too. So I think I can see that's why I've resonated so much with your work and the way you share. But yeah, and then that you're just really bring it into like practical everyday, just such a solution based orientation that I so appreciate and so grounded in your own life. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, how do you, what do you feel like you want to report as your latest at this point along the front?
Well, yeah, I just feel like right now it's such a unique time, as we all know, right? And everybody's going through this time in history in their own way. And we're all having common experiences where we're feeling the collective, like, yuck, right? Like the collective, just that energy that's out there that feels heavy and divisive, and it doesn't feel good to anyone. Um, and at the same time, the way that we're coping or the way that we're moving through that looks different for everybody. So, we'll find that some people are like really thriving through this time and finding new opportunities and ways of being, where others are deeply, deeply struggling. And then there's people everywhere in between, right? And so, if um, we're talking about healing and growing, from this opportunity. I think the first place that I would, point people to look is like, yes, if there's an awareness that we need to heal as a country, as a nation, as, a world, then the place to look from that is within ourselves, to start really within ourselves. Because if we have this deep desire, like I do, right, which is like, oh my gosh, there's so much polarity, there's so much ugliness out there right now. And there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of despair and hopelessness. And couple things I want to say. Like, one is everything is always temporary. Nothing ever is permanent, ever. So when we think it's like doomsday or the end of the world or nothing's ever going to change, that's false. There's always hope, and there's always promise of something better. And I feel like we have to go through the dark times in this collective dark night of the soul in order to recreate something that's even better than we've ever operated from before. And I feel like it comes from a place of just really a recognition that things aren't working. The old way doesn't work anymore. And it's time to change that. And so as a result of that, we're all deeply, deeply feeling that, right? And it's uncomfortable, and we want it to go away. And right. And I know I have. I mean, I believe me, and I say this as much as, for the work that I do with women and girls, and then the work I do with myself, on myself. It's like I've experienced this place of, it is a roller coaster. It has been for me. It's like this emotion that just goes like this. And I consider myself to be very grounded and very high level of emotional intelligence, and just a great ability to cope. And I've struggled. I've struggled through this. And and I look at that and I go, oh my gosh. And then I want it to go away, and I don't want to feel bad, and I don't want to be in those lows. And and it's like, what I realize, and this is what I want people to also understand, if you too are feeling that way, is that we're meant to experience the lows. We're meant to be in the yuck. We're meant to be in the struggle. We're meant to be exactly where we are, even through the discomfort of it, right? Because as the healing, and bringing this back to that question of healing, when we see out there that the world needs to be healed, that doesn't start until we begin in here, right? So each one of us has to begin to look at what needs to be healed in me, in you, right? And in order to heal it, we have to feel it. So all the yucky, all the yuck that we're feeling is necessary. It's a necessary part of our growth and our expansion. And so I would say, just allow, like, as hard as it is for some of us to do that, just to allow the feeling and not make it wrong, and be with if it's anxiety, if it's depression, it's like, don't stay with it. I'm not saying to stay with it, but if you feel crappy, if you feel sad, if you feel hopeless, don't make it wrong. Feel it. Feel it. Then let it move through you, and then get up and connect to something that matters. So that's the doing, right? Like there's the being and the doing, and I feel like they always go hand in hand. So we need to allow ourselves the space to be with all the yuck, but then to move out of that space eventually, right? To eventually move out of that space, we need to do.
Uh,
And it's not just like doing just to do,
uh,
but it's the opportunity we have right now is it's this opportunity to be more mindful than ever of what matters to us,
mm,
right? So get clear about what matters to you. Get clear about what your values are. Get clear about what needs to fall away in your life and what's not important, right? And then when you're clear about what matters and what's most important to you, whether that be, your relationships with your loved ones, right? Like having deep, authentic connections with people you love. If that's what matters to you, then honor that and focus on that and take action toward creating that in your life.
mm,
If what matters to you is making a difference, making a contribution, making an impact, leaving a legacy, right? Like leaving the world a better place and impacting other people's lives positively. If that's what matters to you, you start with you and feel the feelings, but then use those feelings to fuel your mission, to fuel your purpose, to catapult you forward into really making a positive difference. Because I believe that when we're connected to something greater than ourselves, that's
mm,
not just spirit, but it's also this sense of purpose, this sense of belonging, the sense of contribution, the sense of like my life matters. When we're connected to that and we see the proof of that by the impact that we're having on others, we can't stay in despair when we're in that place. We can't stay in hopelessness. We can't stay in lack because we're in an abundant place of giving and also receiving from that giving. So I'll pause there because you know me, I can continue on and see if there's anything you want to interject.
oh no, I really can feel it. That feels so true to me, what you're saying, and that the practicality. Again, I love how you just bring things in on such a grounded, practical, like embodied level that just is very, um, I feel it. So, yeah, but please, yeah, go on though. I don't feel a need to stop you.
Yeah, I just think that when we're in that discomfort that we don't like,
Yeah,
because the
that change.
feelings feel yuck,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where there is to look for the wisdom, right? Like there's some wisdom in that. And it's like, what does that want to teach us? What does that want to show us, right? What wants to be revealed through this place that we're really uncomfortable in? And if we can open up to that, to the idea that there's a gift there, there's some wisdom, there's something we're to learn or grow from in that discomfort, then we can see that the discomfort is actually a gift and
Mm.
it's not something to push away, right? It's not something to not want to be in because we know it's there for our greatest good. So,
And that can change our experience so much and then help us actually benefit from the discomfort, like you said. And uh, it's it's so good. And I love it's really such a mindset approach with approaching hardship and hard feelings. And yeah, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I think that's exactly what so many of us are feeling and
yeah,
how to deal with those hard feelings and to know that it's like growth producing basically, right? And it's bringing clarity and it's connecting us more. And I love how simply you say it about connect with something that matters and how you say just how like you're helping your life feel like it matters. It's such a great way to say it that I think really
yeah,
resonate
yeah.
with a lot of people.
Yeah, because if we're in a time where we feel like we don't have control, if we feel helpless, if we feel like, man, there's so much going on in the world and it's so much bigger than me and I can't control it, right? Um, that can lead to despair, that can lead to depression, that can lead to anxiety, all of that, right? And so how can we step more into the acceptance of what is without like handing over our power, in the sense of like, so it's like letting go of the control, or the need to control, because we're really not in control. We like to think we are, we're not. So if we can let go of that need to control, right, then we can find the peace in what actually is.
Mm,
And we don't have to like what is,
mm,
and we don't have to lay down to what is either. Like, we don't have to just, surrender is not about giving up.
ah,
So surrendering to what is, like surrendering to this moment, knowing that whatever is right now is exactly what it is. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with what is happening and what is there. There's always something to learn from it. There's
mm,
something to grow into from it, right? So when we can realize that it's okay no matter what's happening, and that it's happening for me, right? It's happening for you, for all of us. And then what is it that, without trying to control it, right? Because that's the piece that's difficult for a lot of us. And it's like, without trying to control the situation or the outcome or whatever, it's like, okay, what is my aligned next best step? And this is where the power comes in. And this is where we always have choice. And this is where we can take action. So think about, okay, what is in my control? If I can't control everything out there that's happening in the world, I can't control, who I want to win for president. I can't control, what's going on with this pandemic. I can't control how things are going to look after the pandemic, right? I can't control any of those external circumstances, but there are things I can control in my life right now, today, right? And what that is for you might be different than what that is for me. So it's getting clear about what matters to you most, and what are the best next aligned steps, based on the fact that there are circumstances that are beyond your control,
mm, mm,
right? So we don't let the circumstance control us or dictate to us what we're going to do or how we're going to respond. We acknowledge and recognize that there is a circumstance, and that's all it is, right? It's a circumstance that is not permanent, right? That circumstance is there to show us something, teach us something, grow us, and then we decide how we want to show up in light of that circumstance, and what the best next aligned actions are that are
mm.
going to move us where we see ourselves, right? Where we see the future, not only for ourselves, but that future we envision for everybody, right? And how do we begin to move toward that?
Mm. I love that, how it brings it into action too, and that is very, um, that brings a sense of fulfillment, right? And that we want to actually bring it into action, but in such a personal and even simple way, and that yeah, each of us have our own particular things that matter, and how we can. But the just the act of feeling like we're in some action towards what matters, right, is going to be
Yeah,
some of how we're just be in such a stronger place, really emotionally and with
yeah,
our mental health. It's so fascinating. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm thinking about how I'm so glad that you work with young people, and I know you have a nice little group of young people in your home too. So, with your
Yes.
parents, and how, yeah, I mean, what are the conversations like with the young people in your life along these kind of lines, and their, lack of control and ability to control certain things?
Yeah, it's been really tough. It's been tough for them because they're 15 and under, and they don't have the life skills and things that we have, and in coping and dealing. And so I definitely notice a shift in mood. I notice a shift in outlook,
Uh,
and ability to cope and things like that. And we've actually had to get, extra support
Yeah. Smart.
for, yeah, for our kids, for our family. And that's something that I wanted to raise, because right now we are being called to take care of ourselves like never before. We are, I mean, there's so many things from the emotional, spiritual, physical, mental standpoint that we're dealing with, that, we're in times that we've never been in before. And we're feeling things we've never felt before in ways that we've never experienced them. And so we need extra support. And so I would say, don't ever feel bad about needing extra support. Don't ever feel bad about, like if you feel extra needy right now, if you feel like I feel like I just can't get a handle on my emotions, or, I feel like I just really need some extra help. Like, please get that help, seek out that help that you're needing, because there's no shame in that whatsoever. I mean, that is, right now, we need to support ourselves and each other the best that we can. And also, like, bringing in a deep level of compassion.
Mm.
Can you imagine like how different the world would be right now if people were more compassionate for themselves and each other?
Mm.
I feel like that's what we're being called toward. And those of us who get that and who can see, like, yeah, you know what, I really need to be compassionate towards myself. Like, maybe I'm not being an ideal mom in this time, maybe I'm not being an ideal wife in this time. Maybe I'm not taking care of myself in an ideal way during this time, right? Maybe I'm eating, more than or not as good as I should be right now, right? Maybe I'm whatever, like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not, right? Like,
Mm.
let's just take all that and turn it on its head, and remind ourselves that we are enough and we are doing enough, and we're in really unusual circumstances right now. And we need to give ourselves that compassion first, right? Before we can really give that to others, we need to make sure we're giving ourselves compassion for all the areas that we're failing in, for all the ways that we feel like we're not being enough or doing enough, and saying, I'm doing the best I can right now with what I have. And
Mm.
and I will continue to do better, and I will get support, and I will, whatever I need, I will give to myself so that I can be the best me given the circumstances, right?
Mm.
So I think that's so important. And then also just to give compassion to your kids, right? Like, the kids are going through it. The neighbors are going through it. The people at the grocery store are going through it. Our relatives are going through it. Like, have compassion because we don't know how other people, first of all, what they're experiencing, and then we don't know how they're experiencing that themselves, right? So, I that is, I think, probably the greatest gift we can give to ourselves and others that will bring us a sense of peace,
Ah,
is to, right, bring that compassion to ourselves and others, and then up the self-care game, up the support game, bring in people into your circle, whether you have to hire them, or, whether it's a Facebook group or a mastermind or a support circle, a new friend, whatever it is, like, bring that support system in close so that they can hold you tightly, because we all need that. We need that right now. Laura Jane, I mean, the things that you provide, like, your whole business and your whole purpose is to help people to feel good, to help them feel better about themselves, to elevate their mood, to get physically, emotionally, mentally, right? Like, bringing all of these things into alignment so that they can do what they're here to do in the world, right?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
and I know that you're out there, and right now what you do is needed more than ever, because you have the tools that you can share with people who don't have the tools,
Yeah.
I've thought about you multiple times recently, and all the people in my world that you could help, with heightening our practices right now and really giving ourselves that.
Right. It does seem like a practical thing to do. And I love how you say that. Up the self-care game, up the support game, and to bring in that different sensitivity with ourselves
Yeah.
feels really revolutionary and radical and important. Yeah. Yeah. So I so appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the final, thing I'll say for now, and this is where the, sounds a little woo woo or sounds a little, out there, whatever. But I kid you not, this has been my guidepost lately, is like connecting back to love. So it's like, people can say, oh, connect to love, la la la, and that can sound a little airy and out there, but the reality is, like, I'll just use myself as an example, like with the kids recently, like whenever I feel off balance, whenever I feel upset, and whenever I feel disconnected from the kids, I know that taking that one step towards reconnecting is just connecting to love, right? Connecting to that place in me that loves my children, that wants that harmonious relationship. I want that harmony within. And so I say, okay, what would be the most loving thing I could do right now? How can I step back into love? And I kid you not, like that, it works every time. It's like, it's a secret, because you can't be mad. Like when you're in love, you can't be mad. You can't be, you can't be angry. You can't be any and all these things that you don't want to feel and feel disconnected when you're in love. So how do you bring yourself back to love every single time, right?
That's such a great mantra. I want to like be using that now. How can I bring myself back to love right now? Right? Or something along those lines. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And love for self, like, come on, like, let's, we started this whole conversation off talking about starting with ourselves, right? So like, when I'm not feeling great about myself, when I'm being really judgmental of myself or critical, right? Harsh on myself, when I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I failed, or, whatever it may be, I have to say, okay, how can I bring myself back to love for myself? Like, how can I bring myself in this moment? How can I love myself more through this, right? How can I love myself more right now?
That's a great, and I knew someone who studied so much about mindset and NLP and all that, right? You really even understand how asking ourselves questions is such a powerful thing to do, right? And so it's really, there's a lot of practicality to doing something like that with ourselves. Like, how can
Yeah,
we get back to love?
yeah.
That feels so good. And
And even, okay, and so even like one more on that is like, even the people that you don't feel love for, like, let's say, you're on Facebook and there's a political debate going on a thread, and you're feeling angry about somebody's comment, right? So like, how can you, before you respond, if you choose to respond, right? Like, before you respond, how can you say, what would be the most loving way to respond to this comment, trying to get my point across, right, in a loving way. Because, what I've learned to do on social media now is I don't engage with the back and forth anymore. It's pointless. So if there's somebody that makes a comment and I feel like I have something to contribute to that, I will go ahead and make my response or my comment, and I move on, and I don't come back to it, because I said what I needed to say with as much love as I could muster up, coming from a place of love. This is how I feel. There's no debating it. And, and then I just sort of move on, because then I don't energetically get caught up in the trying to convince somebody of something else. That's pointless. And I'm not going to put someone down or be mean or come from a place of anger, because that sucks me energetically too. And if I want to be in a place of love and come back to that place of love, I just very lovingly make my point and move on.
I love that. That's such a great like exercise and tool right there. So it's pretty perfect. Gosh, and that's like perfectly 30 minutes there. But is there anything more that you want to say along these lines that you didn't get to say yet?
No, I feel like I've said it all. I mean, well, there's always more to say, but on this topic, if those who are watching just really take home any of the points that I've made today, it would make me so happy, because there's such this depth and richness that we're being called to right now. The facades, aren't working anymore. That, being up here above the surface, like, it's not working anymore. And, we're being asked by the universe to drop all of that and to go into the depths, right? And in the depths is where all the goodness is. I mean, that's where the juice is, and that's the goodness. And we're in this incubator right now, because, like, something really big is coming, and I don't know when. I can't say that, and I don't know exactly what. But I do know the darkness is a precursor to the light, and all of the things are being brought to light right now. And so it's like, okay, bring all the dark, ugly feelings that are coming up within you. Let that come up to the surface. It's okay. Bring that to the light. And then what do you want to do with that now? And so get ready, because all of us are being called to go through this process collectively, and then we're going to see who's going to rise up. We're going to see who, like, really went in that incubator, who really sat with the muck and the yuck, and who really reflected, and who really allowed it to be what it's meant to be. Because at the end of it, we are the ones who are going to grow into our greatest potential. We are the ones who are going to be the leaders of the future. We are the ones who are going to be the healers. We're going to help heal the planet, but not until we do that work first, right? So,
Love it. You're so great at bringing us in line with our power. So I appreciate it. Wow. So can you also now tell us how people can follow and find you, should they want to, like if they're watching this on YouTube at a future date, things like that?
Yeah. So my website is JustineArian.com, Justine and then ARIAN.com. And I also have a group on Facebook called Finding Me, Impacting We Community. And would love to have anyone join us in there. And it's just, we sort of do positive, inspiring, insightful, reflective kinds of questions, some lightness and play in there, but also some, deeper kinds of things in there, with a group of women who are all on personal growth journeys together. And so, yeah, that's how y'all can reach me, and would love, if anything that I said today speaks to you, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to support women, and and young women as well. And we all have to be here for each other. And so if you just need to hear something from somebody you may or may not know who cares about you and your well-being, then please reach out. We're all in this together. We hear that, and it's true. We are in this together. And in particular, the people that Laura Jane brings together in community are all givers, all lovers, and we're here to help. So thank you, Laura Jane. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Justine. I knew unique, important content would come through with you, and it absolutely did. So thank you. I'm so thankful. All right. Well, we'll sign off with you all, and thank you for being here with us as you've joined us, whether you're here live or catching us later on the archive. So thanks so much, and we're glad you're here. Namaste.